Hello and welcome to the 23rd Annual Garden State Film Festival. My name is Emily DeSimone, and here with me today is Nancy Nagrant, who is the co-producer and actress playing the role Dr. Jen in the short Right to Privacy, here with her co-producer and writer, Rachel Mann. Nancy and Rachel, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Would you like to tell our live viewers a bit about your short film?
Yeah, sure. So Right to Privacy is a drama about a woman's healthcare doctor who has a charged encounter with an anti-abortion protester. So it's obviously a very topical subject, and in some ways gets more topical every day. So yeah, we're really happy to be bringing it to Garden State.
I think it's a great topic to bring forward. I mean, I know it's, out there right now, but I think that we as women should absolutely have the right to speak on it as much as possible and to spread the word, because you never know how much people really have that kind of exposure to the information. Rachel, what's your input on the film?
I couldn't agree more with what you just said. And I think that one of the unique things about our project is that the story really centers on the provider. A lot of stories about the topic of abortion and access to abortion, for good reason, focus on the patient, which is very important as well. But we kind of came to the story with a different lens, thinking about how important providers are in giving all of us access to women's health, and in this story, how the kind of nonstop protests can really affect the life of a provider. So that's the center of our story.
If I may, what was it that inspired you to take this role, this topic, and bring it forward?
Yeah, actually, Rachel, do you want to talk about the inspiration for the script and how it came together?
Yeah, sure. So this story is based on real events, and it was something that actually happened many years ago, like over 25 years ago, in my father's medical practice. He's a retired doctor. So the story, I'm not going to give away the plot in this interview, but because I hope that all of you who are watching and listening right now will come and see the film. But the story of a charged encounter, as Nancy said, between a provider and a protester is something that a lot of providers all over the country are dealing with all the time, and even today. And I think that this story really stayed with me because it happened to a family member. And I think that one of the ways that I've kind of brought my own spin to it is that in our film, the protester and the doctor are actually very similar demographically. They're both white women in their 40s. And I think it really made us think a lot about how people who from the outside might look like, oh, they're very similar people. They probably have the same opinions on things.
Mm-hmm.
But in fact, sometimes people who might live in the same community, might have the same gender and race, can be really on opposite sides of certain issues. And then sometimes might still need each other at times. So that's kind of at the heart of our story too.
I would love to know a bit about the both of you, and if you'd like to share, your background and your involvement in the industry as filmmakers.
Sure, I'll go first. I'm an actor, and I've worked a lot, theater, television, film. And I started to produce shorts because I wanted to create my own work. I wanted to tell stories that centered underrepresented groups, especially women, as protagonists. And yeah, I started producing with the idea that I would only ever produce something that I starred in. And then I actually really quickly realized how much I like producing. It sort of scratches. It's like the other side of your brain. Like the actor is so creative and telling a story in that way, and then the producer is very task oriented and moving things forward and organized. It's like project management, and so it's like it sort of serves both part of my brain. So yeah, that's how I've been, and now I've produced like 9 shorts.
That's awesome.
And I've been to Garden State before. 2 years ago, I was at Garden State and loved my experience, and I'm so happy to be back.
Well, welcome back. It's an honor to have you back. And Rachel, how about you?
Yeah, I'm so lucky to be working with Nancy on this film because she's a fantastic producer and actor, and this is actually my first film. So Nancy and I worked together on a play that I wrote and Nancy starred in, I want to say like 8 years ago. I think it was about that long ago. So we've been friends since then. I write fiction and plays, and I had a lot of different ideas for screenplays and had written some that had never gone anywhere. But it was really in collaboration with Nancy that we came together and thought, we know we work really well together. We know we have the same, very similar ideas about telling stories about women. And so this screenplay was born with the idea that we would produce it together. And I've been really thrilled. And we had other amazing producers also on this film. And we put together just such a great team. And I think a lot of that is because of Nancy. So thank you.
Okay, well, that's actually really interesting that this is your first time doing a film. And Nancy, I mean, you're both in the theater industry, Nancy. You're saying now this was your 9th. So
Cool.
I would love to know, Rachel, for you, like the difference between doing a theater work and then coming in to film, and then from you, Rachel, from you, and then Nancy, from you, I would love to know, what was it that you were able to share with Rachel? Rachel, what did you learn from Nancy in this process? I apologize if I had the names backwards for this moment.
Okay. I learned so much in this process. I joke, I say it's actually true that this is my film school, like making this short film. I mean, there's no better practice than doing, right? There's a lot of differences from theater. I think in theater, you're a team for a longer time. The cast, the director, the stage manager, it's like you come together and you're alive together as a unit for at least a few weeks, even before a short run. And I think with short film, we shot over 2 days. We had a table read on Zoom. We had some individual, the actors met with the director a few times maybe, but there wasn't really a huge rehearsal process or anything like that. And it was, yeah, so coming together, I think, as a team was different. And it was really interesting to see on the day, the way all these people, I mean, we had, Nancy can correct me if I'm wrong, like as many as 45 people at times on set, including extras. And it was just amazing to see how there were so many people and so many moving parts, but everyone knows their job. They know what they're there to do. They've done it many, many times in other settings. And the professionalism, especially in New York, always blows me away. That's for theater and film, actually, both. I think it's really special for me to be part of a project that we get to keep, because theater is ephemeral, and it was amazing. It's always amazing, and then it's gone. You don't get to keep it. So that's kind of a really special thing and motivated me about making a film.
It's interesting that there's a few things that I really like that you said. The last thing you said about theater being ephemeral, it's also one of the reasons that I started making films. Is like, it's like I wanted to keep it, as you said, like I like to keep it. And so, yeah, it's really interesting. And the other thing that I was thinking about, Rachel, as you were talking about seeing it all come together, is like, it's part of me is like a little jealous that you got to experience it, because I don't know that I remember I think because I'm an actor, I've seen it so many times. But you're absolutely right. It's like you show up the day of, and there are all these people moving around, and you may not have met him, but they're all doing a job, and they all know what to do somehow. Magically, they just know what to do. And we're all working together to tell this story, and it's really kind of a magical. It's a magical thing. And that's one of the reasons that I'm drawn to producing. I also just I don't want to go too long without mentioning some of our other like key team members.
Of course.
We've been talking about them, but we haven't named them yet. And so our other producers are Saro Varjabedian, and he was also our cinematographer. He actually came a little bit later. So then the last producer is Josephine Cashman, who plays Melanie, who's the protester. And Saro came on a little bit after the three of us had been working on it. And that was after Dobbs. That was after Roe fell. And he was feeling very, very motivated to tell a story revolving around women's rights to abortion. And I said, oh, I might just have a project that you could help us with. And so that's how he came on board. And then our director, Julie Herlocker, Josephine and I met her at the Sunscreen Film Festival a couple of years ago. And we really, really hit it off. And when we were thinking about who we wanted to direct this, she was one of the first people that I thought about. And I think that she brought a really interesting lens, and I think she tells the story with a lot of empathy. And so, yeah, we're very grateful to have all of those people on our team. They're pretty wonderful.
So you've found a majority of your cast and crew through going to other film festivals and networking, as well as Nancy, your time having done this, I take it, if I caught on.
Yeah, I would say that the actors for the most part are people from my network or our networks, I should say. We did audition the young woman who plays Grace in the film, and that was a connection from you, Rachel. Sophia Giorno. I hope I'm saying that name correctly.
I happen to have a daughter who's close to her age, so we got, and she went to Performing Arts High School in New York, so she knew a lot of actors, and so we got into the NYU community somehow, and we found her. She was a freshman at NYU at the time. Sophia was wonderful in the film. And we had a lot of extras also on this film, because we actually stage a protest in the film. And interestingly, there are two women who play escorts who help patients go past the protesters and into the clinic. Oh, wow. And they are actually real Planned Parenthood volunteers. They're volunteers who actually do this out of the goodness of their hearts without pay. And so they were able to teach us what that's like, standing there for an 8-hour shift and helping patients get into the clinic. It was really amazing. And they did that. They volunteered for us too. They wanted to be part of this film. So there's some really interesting people and dedicated people who wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I guess before I wrap things up, I know we kind of talked about, making sure like that this film was helped to, I guess, make sure that everybody has a bit of exposure to what goes on. But if there's anything that you really do hope that the audience member takes away from this film, what would you say it is?
We made this film not because we wanted to change people's minds, but because we wanted to open conversations. It was really important to us that people would come away from the film wanting to talk to people about what they saw, about what they question, about their assumptions. And so that's really an important intention for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say from some of our festival experiences, we've been able to sort of fulfill that intention. We've had people talk to us about some of their experiences. We had a doctor talk to us in Texas about his experience and the sort of fear that he had around performing abortions given the new laws that have been passed. And people who, either have been seeking access or have been helping people, helping a friend try to gain access. And so I'm interested in all the conversations. Yeah. I think it's probably our number one goal is just to be able to talk to people and, hopefully increase empathy all around, because I think it's just so needed right now, especially.
Well, Nancy, Rachel, thank you both so much for joining me today. Right to Privacy will be screening at the Kingsley Ballroom on Sunday, March 30th at 11:45 a.m. Again, it's been such a pleasure to speak with you both today. Will you be at the festival this year?
Yes, I will be there. Rachel can't make it.
Can't make it, but I'm so glad you can be there, Nancy, and I hope to come in the future for sure. Thank you so much for having our film.
Of course, absolutely. Well, Nancy, I look forward to seeing you there, and I hope you both have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Guys.